In the bustling heart of the alien market on Xylophia 7, where neon lights flickered like fireflies and strange aromas mingled in the humid air, a peculiar human named Jace wandered through the chaos. His dark hair was tousled from the constant breeze created by hovering vendors' carts, and his eyes darted curiously at every oddity around him. The market was alive with vibrant colors: purple fruits that glowed faintly, golden fabrics that shimmered even in shadow, and creatures whose forms defied logic. Jace had been living on Xylophia 7 for nearly 2 years now, working as a trader of rare earth artifacts. He wasn't particularly wealthy or influential. He simply enjoyed the thrill of bartering and meeting new species. But today felt different. As he strolled past stalls selling glowing crystals and bubbling potions, something caught his eye: a figure huddled against the cold metallic wall of an alleyway just off the main thoroughfare. It was a woman, or at least, she appeared to be one. Her skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the multicolored lights above her like liquid starlight. She wore tattered robes that seemed to shift between shades of silver and blue, catching glimpses of movement within their folds. Her large almond-shaped eyes were a deep violet, framed by long lashes that fluttered gently as she blinked. Despite her disheveled appearance, there was an undeniable beauty about her, not just physical but something deeper, almost ethereal. Jace hesitated for a moment before approaching. "Are you all right?" he asked cautiously, unsure if she spoke Galactic Standard or any language he knew. To his surprise, she looked up, meeting his gaze with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. "I am fine," she replied softly, her voice melodic yet tinged with sadness. It took Jace a second to process her words. They were heavily accented but understandable. "What's your name?" he asked, crouching down to meet her at eye level. "Lyra," she said after a pause, as though deciding whether to trust him. "And yours?" "Jace," he answered with a small smile. "Do you have somewhere to stay tonight? This part of the market can get dangerous once the sun sets." Lyra shook her head slowly, her shimmering hair cascading over her shoulders. "No place," she murmured. "Just here." Something tugged at Jace's heartstrings. Maybe it was the vulnerability in her voice, or perhaps the way she seemed so out of place amidst the chaos of the market. Whatever it was, he found himself saying, "Come with me. I have a small apartment nearby. You can stay there until you figure things out." Her eyes widened slightly, surprise evident in her expression. "Why would you help me?" she asked, suspicion creeping into her tone. Jace shrugged, standing up and extending a hand. "Because no one should sleep in an alley when they don't have to. Besides, I could use some company. It gets lonely being the only human around here sometimes." After a moment of hesitation, Lyra took his hand, her touch surprisingly warm despite her otherworldly appearance. Together, they navigated the crowded market, weaving through throngs of aliens and avoiding the occasional stray tentacle or mechanical limb that jutted out into their path. As they walked, Jace couldn't help but steal glances at Lyra. There was something mesmerizing about her, something beyond her shimmering skin or captivating eyes. It was as though she carried secrets older than the stars themselves, written in the subtle movements of her hands and the quiet cadence of her breathing. When they finally reached Jace's modest apartment, a tiny unit tucked away on the upper levels of a towering structure, he opened the door and gestured for her to enter. Inside, the space was cluttered but cozy, filled with trinkets and gadgets he'd collected during his travels. A small holographic display flickered on the wall, casting soft hues of green and blue across the room. "This is nice," Lyra said quietly, her eyes scanning the space. She lingered near the window, gazing out at the sprawling cityscape below. Lights twinkled in the distance, and the hum of hovercraft engines drifted faintly through the glass. "Make yourself comfortable," Jace offered, setting a kettle on the stove. "Tea." She turned to look at him, her lips curling into the faintest hint of a smile. "Yes, thank you." As the water heated, Jace couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was more than mere coincidence. Little did he know, inviting Lyra into his home would set off a chain of events neither of them could have anticipated, and that their lives were about to become intertwined in ways far greater than either of them imagined. The days that followed were unlike anything Jace had experienced before. Having Lyra in his home brought a sense of vitality to his otherwise routine existence. Each morning, he woke up to find her sitting by the window, her shimmering form bathed in the soft glow of Xylophia 7's twin suns. At first, she seemed hesitant, almost guarded, but as the days passed, she began to open up, revealing pieces of herself bit by bit. One evening, as they shared a meal of roasted lumafish and spiced grains, Jace decided to ask the question that had been lingering in his mind. "So, Lyra," he began casually, "what brought you to this planet? You don't strike me as someone who ends up sleeping in alleys by choice." She paused, her fork hovering mid-air, and for a moment, Jace thought she might evade the question altogether. Instead, she sighed softly and leaned back in her chair. "I was exiled," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "From my home world." Jace raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Exiled? For what?" Lyra hesitated again, her violet eyes clouding with emotion. "For breaking a sacred law. One I believed was unjust." She glanced at him, as if gauging his reaction. "My people are bound by strict traditions, many of which I no longer agree with. When I spoke out, I was cast out. Left to wander." Jace nodded slowly, absorbing her words. "That must have been hard. Leaving everything behind." "It was," she said, her voice tinged with both sadness and defiance. "But sometimes, holding on to beliefs means letting go of comfort." Their conversation shifted then, moving to lighter topics. Stories of their respective worlds, humorous anecdotes about cultural misunderstandings, and even debates over which planet had better cuisine. Lyra proved to be quick-witted and sharp-tongued, often leaving Jace laughing until tears streamed down his face. Yet beneath her humor lay a depth he found endlessly fascinating. She spoke of ancient customs, forgotten languages, and celestial phenomena with a reverence that made him see the universe in a new light. One afternoon, while exploring the market together, they stumbled upon a stall selling intricate jewelry crafted from crystalline materials native to Xylophia 7. Lyra's eyes lit up as she examined a delicate necklace shaped like a spiral galaxy. "This reminds me of home," she murmured, tracing the pendant with her fingers. Without thinking, Jace turned to the vendor, a squat, three-eyed creature with iridescent scales, and began negotiating the price. After some playful banter and a clever bluff involving a supposedly defective artifact, he secured the necklace for a fraction of its original cost. Handing it to Lyra, he grinned. "Here. A reminder of where you came from." Her expression softened, and for the first time, Jace saw her truly smile. Not the polite, reserved smile she usually gave, but a full, radiant one that transformed her entire face. "Thank you, Jace," she said softly, fastening the necklace around her neck. "I'll treasure it." As the days turned into weeks, Jace noticed subtle changes in himself as well. He found himself tidying up more often, experimenting with recipes he thought she might enjoy, and even rearranging furniture to make the cramped apartment feel less claustrophobic. Strangely enough, these small acts of care didn't feel burdensome. They felt natural, as though Lyra's presence had awakened a part of him he hadn't realized was dormant. Yet, amidst the growing camaraderie, there were moments of tension too. Once, during a particularly heated discussion about interstellar politics, Lyra snapped at him, accusing him of oversimplifying issues he couldn't possibly understand. Taken aback, Jace retorted that maybe she shouldn't assume everyone shared her worldview. They spent the rest of the evening in silence, each nursing their bruised egos. But by the next morning, they were laughing again, as if nothing had happened. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the city lights flicker like fireflies, Lyra suddenly tensed, her shimmering skin dimming slightly. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, her voice tight. Jace frowned, straining his ears. At first, he heard nothing unusual, just the usual hum of distant traffic and the occasional burst of laughter from neighboring apartments. Then, faintly, he detected it, a low, rhythmic pulsing sound, almost imperceptible. "What is it?" he asked, turning to her. Her eyes darted around nervously. "They're looking for me." "Who?" "My people," she said grimly. "I thought I'd lost them, but apparently not." Before Jace could respond, the pulsing grew louder, accompanied by the whirring of engines. From the corner of his eye, he spotted a sleek black ship descending toward the building, its hull gleaming ominously under the moonlight. Panic surged through him. "We need to leave. Now." Grabbing her hand, he pulled her inside and quickly gathered a few essentials: a communicator, some credits, and a small device he hoped would buy them time. Together, they slipped out the back door and into the labyrinthine alleys of the market, hearts pounding as the ship loomed closer. As they ran, Jace couldn't help but marvel at how quickly his life had changed since meeting Lyra. What had started as a simple act of kindness had spiraled into something far more complex and dangerous. And yet, despite the chaos unfolding around them, he couldn't deny the thrill coursing through his veins. For the first time in years, he felt truly alive. The chase through the alien market was nothing short of chaotic. Jace and Lyra darted between towering stacks of glowing produce and ducked under the swinging limbs of a six-armed merchant shouting in a guttural dialect. The pulsing sound from the black ship grew louder, resonating through the narrow alleyways like a heartbeat. Behind them, shadows moved unnaturally fast. Figures clad in sleek, obsidian armor, their visors reflecting the neon lights in eerie flashes. "Hold on!" Jace shouted, pulling Lyra into a side passage just as one of the pursuers fired a bolt of energy that sizzled past their heads, leaving a scorch mark on the metal wall. They pressed themselves against the cool surface, trying to catch their breath. "Why are they after you?" Jace hissed, his voice low but urgent. Lyra's shimmering skin dimmed further, blending subtly with the shadows. "They think I stole something," she whispered. "A relic from our world. Something powerful." Jace's eyes widened. "Did you?" "No," she shot back, though her hesitation betrayed her. "Well, not exactly. It chose me. That's why they exiled me." Before Jace could press further, another pulse echoed through the alley, closer this time. Grabbing her hand, he yanked her forward, weaving through a maze of vendor carts and startled passers-by. One alien, a towering insectoid creature with compound eyes, shrieked indignantly as they knocked over its display of crystalline trinkets. Jace barely registered the cacophony of curses hurled after them. Ahead, a group of armored figures emerged from a side street, cutting off their escape route. Jace skidded to a halt, his mind racing. "This way!" he yelled, veering sharply into a narrow gap between two buildings. The space was barely wide enough for them to squeeze through, but it led to a hidden courtyard filled with discarded machinery and rusting crates. "Up there." Lyra pointed to a rickety ladder bolted to the wall, leading to the rooftop. Without hesitation, Jace boosted her up, her lithe form scaling the rungs with surprising agility. He followed close behind, his muscles burning as he hauled himself onto the roof just as the first of their pursuers reached the base of the ladder. "Keep moving," Lyra urged, already sprinting across the uneven terrain of the rooftop. Jace followed, his boots crunching on loose gravel as they leapt over ventilation shafts and dodged antennae jutting out like skeletal fingers. Below, the black ship hovered menacingly, its searchlights sweeping across the rooftops. Suddenly, Lyra stumbled, her foot catching on a loose panel. She fell hard, landing on her knees with a soft cry. Jace turned back, grabbing her arm and hauling her to her feet. "You okay?" She nodded, wincing but determined. "I'm fine. Let's go." They reached the edge of the rooftop, where a narrow bridge connected their building to the next. It swayed precariously in the wind, its cables groaning under their weight as they stepped onto it. Halfway across, a blast from the ship struck the support beams, sending vibrations rippling through the structure. Jace froze, clutching the railing as the bridge tilted dangerously. "Don't look down," Lyra shouted, gripping his sleeve. "Just keep going." With gritted teeth, Jace forced himself to move, step by agonizing step. By the time they reached the other side, the bridge collapsed behind them, clattering noisily into the abyss below. Safe, for now, they collapsed against the wall, gasping for air. "That was close," Jace panted, wiping sweat from his brow. "Too close." Lyra nodded, her shimmering skin flickering erratically. "They won't give up easily. We need to find shelter. Somewhere secure." Jace glanced around, spotting a hatch leading to the building's interior. "There. Let's hope it's empty." Inside, the building was eerily quiet, its corridors lined with flickering fluorescent panels. They moved quickly, staying low and listening intently for any signs of pursuit. Eventually, they found an abandoned storage room, its door sealed shut with a heavy lock. Using the device Jace had grabbed earlier, a multi-tool capable of hacking basic security systems, he managed to pry it open. Once inside, they barricaded the door with whatever they could find. Crates, old machinery, even a broken desk shoved against the frame. Exhausted, they slumped against the wall, catching their breath. "So," Jace said finally, breaking the silence. "A relic, huh? Care to elaborate?" Lyra sighed, running a hand through her shimmering hair. "It's called the Ether Shard. It's difficult to explain. My people believe it holds fragments of the universe's essence. Memories, emotions, knowledge. They guard it fiercely, but it doesn't belong to them." "Not really. And it chose you?" Jace asked skeptically. She nodded. "When I touched it, I saw things. Visions of places I've never been, voices speaking in languages I don't understand. It terrified me, but also, it felt right. Like I was meant to protect it." Jace studied her, seeing the conflict in her eyes. "If it's that important, why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I didn't want to involve you," she admitted quietly. "You've already done so much for me. I didn't want to drag you into this mess." "Well, too late for that," Jace said with a wry grin. "Besides, we're in this together now. Whether you like it or not." For the first time since the chase began, Lyra smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile. "Thank you, Jace. I don't know what I'd do without you. Probably get captured by those goons," he teased, earning a light punch on the shoulder. As they sat there, catching their breath and planning their next move, Jace couldn't help but feel a strange sense of exhilaration. Sure, they were fugitives on the run, hunted by mysterious forces with unknown motives. But somehow, in the midst of all the danger, he felt more alive than ever before. And as he glanced at Lyra, her shimmering form glowing softly in the dim light, he realized something else. He didn't want this journey to end any time soon. The discovery of the Ether Shard brought a profound shift in Jace and Lyra's relationship, unraveling layers of emotions neither had anticipated. The shard itself, nestled safely within a hidden compartment of Lyra's robes, pulsed faintly, casting a soft, ethereal glow that mirrored the shimmer in her skin. Its presence was a constant reminder of the immense responsibility and danger they now shared. One evening, as they hid in the attic of an abandoned textile factory on the outskirts of the city, Jace watched Lyra as she traced the shard's edges with her fingertips. Her expression was a mix of awe and trepidation, and for the first time, he saw vulnerability in her that went beyond fear for her own safety. "Does it hurt?" he asked softly, breaking the silence. She looked up, startled, then shook her head. "Not physically, no. But it's overwhelming. Sometimes I hear whispers, fragments of thoughts that aren't mine. Other times, I see flashes of places I've never been, worlds with skies of liquid gold and oceans of frozen light." Jace scooted closer, his curiosity piqued. "Do you think it's trying to communicate with you?" "I don't know," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "Maybe. Or maybe it's just showing me what it wants me to protect. Either way, it feels like it's testing me." He hesitated before asking the question that had been weighing on his mind. "Why you, Lyra? Out of everyone, why did it choose you?" She stared at the shard for a long moment before answering. "I think, because I'm willing to question. On my homeworld, questioning is seen as weakness, a betrayal of tradition. But I've always believed there's more to life than blind obedience. Maybe the shard sensed that." Jace nodded thoughtfully. "Sounds like it picked the right person, then." Her lips curved into a faint smile, but it faded quickly. "I just hope I'm strong enough to carry this burden. If anything happens to the shard, if it falls into the wrong hands." He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Hey, we'll figure it out. Together." The intensity of the moment lingered, filling the space between them with unspoken feelings. Over the past weeks, Jace had grown increasingly aware of how deeply he cared for Lyra, not just as a friend or ally, but as something more. Yet, he wrestled with doubts. Was it selfish to pursue such feelings when she carried the weight of an entire cosmic artifact on her shoulders? Would she even feel the same way? For her part, Lyra found herself equally conflicted. She had spent most of her life adhering to rigid societal expectations, suppressing her emotions to maintain order. But Jace's kindness, his unwavering support, and his willingness to stand by her despite the danger stirred something within her she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Hope that perhaps love could exist outside the confines of duty and obligation. Their bond deepened during quieter moments, like when they shared stories under the dim glow of the shard or laughed over improvised meals cooked over a portable burner. There was humor, too, like the time Jace accidentally set off a minor explosion while attempting to repair a faulty heating unit, leaving both of them covered in soot and giggling uncontrollably. These moments grounded them, reminding them of their humanity, or in Lyra's case, her connection to beings who laughed and loved. Still, the threat of pursuit loomed large. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow flitting past the cracked window sent adrenaline coursing through their veins. One night, while keeping watch, Jace spotted a patrol drone circling the factory grounds. Its red eye scanned methodically, searching for any sign of intruders. He signaled silently to Lyra, and together they extinguished their makeshift lanterns, holding their breath as the drone hovered closer. "They're relentless," Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible. "They must really want that shard," Jace replied grimly. "Which means we need to stay one step ahead." The next day, they devised a plan to relocate. Using parts scavenged from the factory, Jace rigged together a crude cloaking device designed to mask their heat signatures. It wasn't perfect, but it would buy them time. As they prepared to leave, Lyra handed him a small vial containing a silvery liquid. "Take this," she urged. "It's a healing elixir. If anything happens, use it." Jace pocketed the vial, touched by her concern. "Thanks. But let's try not to need it, okay?" Their journey took them deeper into the industrial sector of the city, where towering smokestacks belched plumes of iridescent vapor and rivers of molten metal flowed like veins through the landscape. Here, among the gritty sprawl of factories and warehouses, they sought refuge in a derelict power station. The air buzzed with residual energy, and the walls hummed faintly, creating an unsettling yet oddly comforting ambience. As they settled in, Lyra turned to Jace, her violet eyes searching his face. "Do you ever regret helping me? Bringing me into your home?" He met her gaze steadily. "Never. Even if it means running for the rest of my life, I'd do it all over again." Her breath hitched, and for a fleeting moment, he thought she might lean in. Instead, she looked away, her shimmering skin glowing brighter. "You shouldn't say things like that. You deserve better. Better than saving the universe with someone extraordinary," he countered, his tone teasing but sincere. "I'll take my chances." Her laugh was soft, tinged with sadness. "You're impossible, Jace." "And you're incredible," he shot back, earning a shy smile. Outside, the wind howled through the decaying structures, carrying with it the scent of ozone and decay. Inside, however, the atmosphere crackled with something far more potent, the undeniable chemistry between them. Though neither dared to voice their feelings outright, the tension simmered just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to ignite. But their respite was short-lived. That night, as they lay side by side on a pile of dusty blankets, the unmistakable hum of engines filled the air. Jace sat up abruptly, his heart pounding. "They've found us." Lyra sprang to her feet, clutching the shard tightly. "We need to move. Now." Together, they dashed toward the exit, only to find their path blocked by a squad of armored figures. Trapped, they exchanged a glance, resignation mingling with determination. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. Little did they know, the true test of their bond, and their courage, was only beginning. Far above the crumbling power station, a massive vessel descended, its sleek hull blocking out the stars. This was no ordinary patrol ship. It was a command cruiser, bristling with weapons and sensors. Its arrival signaled a dramatic escalation in the hunt for the ether shard, and for Jace and Lyra. As the armored figures advanced, Lyra instinctively stepped in front of Jace, her shimmering form radiating a faint, protective glow. "Stay behind me," she whispered urgently. Her hands trembled as she clutched the shard, its pulsating light growing brighter with each passing second. The air around them seemed to hum with energy, charged by the artifact's growing power. One of the figures, taller than the others and adorned with ornate insignias etched into its armor, stepped forward. Its helmet retracted, revealing a face that bore a striking resemblance to Lyra's, delicate features, violet eyes, and skin that shimmered faintly. But where Lyra's expression was soft and vulnerable, this newcomer's was cold and calculating. "Sister," the figure said, its voice laced with disdain. "You've caused enough trouble." Lyra stiffened, her grip tightening on the shard. "Kale," she spat, her tone venomous. "I should have known you'd lead them here." Kale smirked, raising a gloved hand to gesture at the surrounding troops. "Our elders grow impatient. They sent me to retrieve what you stole, and ensure you don't disgrace us further." "I didn't steal it." Lyra shot back, her voice rising. "The shard chose me. Can't you see that? It doesn't belong to anyone, not even our people." Kale's smirk faltered for a moment, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "Enough lies. Hand it over, or we'll take it by force." Beside her, Jace shifted uneasily. He had faced danger before, but this was different. These weren't random mercenaries or bounty hunters. They were Lyra's kin, warriors trained to subdue and eliminate threats without hesitation. And judging by the way Kale's gaze flicked toward him, they clearly considered Jace expendable. "Don't do this, Kale," Lyra pleaded, her voice cracking with emotion. "You used to question the elders too. Remember what they did to Mother? They silenced her because she dared to speak the truth. Is that what you want? To become one of them?" Kale's jaw tightened, and for a brief moment, Jace thought he saw a flicker of doubt cross his face. But then the warrior straightened, his expression hardening. "This isn't about Mother. It's about survival. The shard is dangerous. In the wrong hands, it could destroy us all." "No," Lyra countered fiercely. "It's only dangerous if we let fear control us. The shard is a gift, a chance to understand the universe in ways we never imagined. Don't you see that?" Kale hesitated, glancing at the shard in her hands. Its glow intensified, bathing the room in waves of iridescent light. The soldiers shifted uncomfortably, their weapons wavering as though the very air resisted their aggression. Even Kale seemed momentarily transfixed, his violet eyes wide with wonder. Seizing the opportunity, Jace stepped forward, positioning himself beside Lyra. "Listen to her," he said, addressing Kale directly. "You don't have to follow orders blindly. Think for yourself. Isn't that what she's trying to teach you?" Kale's gaze snapped to Jace, fury flashing in his eyes. "You know nothing of our ways, human. Your interference makes you a liability." Before Jace could respond, Lyra intervened, stepping between them. "Leave him out of this, Kale. This is between you and me." The tension in the room reached a breaking point. Kale raised his weapon, aiming it squarely at Jace. "Then prove your loyalty, sister. Surrender the shard, or watch him die." Time seemed to freeze. Lyra's shimmering skin dimmed, her resolve wavering under the unbearable weight of the ultimatum. Jace placed a hand on her shoulder, giving it a gentle squeeze. "Don't," he whispered. "Whatever happens, don't give in." Tears welled up in Lyra's eyes, but her voice remained steady. "If you harm him, you'll lose any chance of redemption. Do you really want to live knowing you've become everything Mother feared?" Kale's finger hovered over the trigger, his internal struggle evident in the slight tremor of his hand. The standoff stretched on, the hum of the shard filling the silence like a heartbeat. Finally, with a frustrated growl, Kale lowered his weapon. "Fine," he snarled. "But this isn't over." Before anyone could react, a deafening roar shook the building. The command cruiser above unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, targeting the structure with devastating precision. Dust and debris rained down as the ceiling began to collapse. "We need to move," Jace shouted, grabbing Lyra's hand and pulling her toward a crumbling staircase. Kale barked orders to his troops, who scrambled to evacuate as the building groaned under the assault. Dodging falling rubble, Jace and Lyra raced downward, their footsteps echoing through the chaos. Behind them, Kale followed at a cautious distance, his expression unreadable. Whether he intended to capture them or merely ensure their escape remained unclear. As they burst out into the open air, the full scale of the attack became apparent. Hovering drones circled overhead, firing indiscriminately at anything that moved. Civilians screamed and scattered, seeking cover amidst the wreckage. Jace shielded Lyra with his body as they sprinted toward a cluster of abandoned vehicles, desperate to put distance between themselves and the destruction. Reaching a battered hoverbike, Jace fumbled with the controls, cursing under his breath. "Come on, come on." "Let me," Lyra said, shoving him aside. With a few deft movements, she hot-wired the engine, and the bike roared to life. Climbing aboard, she gestured for Jace to join her. "Hold on tight." They sped off into the night, weaving through the labyrinth of streets as explosions lit up the sky behind them. Cale watched from afar, his silhouette illuminated by the fiery glow of the ruined power station. For now they had escaped, but the battle was far from over. As they disappeared into the darkness, Lyra clutched the shard tightly, its light pulsing in rhythm with her racing heart. She knew the true challenge lay ahead, not just surviving the pursuit, but convincing those who sought to destroy her that the ether shard was a force for unity, not division. And somewhere deep inside, she wondered if Jace's faith in her was enough to tip the scales. As the hoverbike sped into the horizon, Lyra turned to Jace, her violet eyes shimmering with gratitude and something deeper. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice steady despite everything. "For believing in me." Jace smiled, his hand tightening around hers. "Always." Behind them, Cale stood frozen, torn between duty and doubt, as the ether shard's glow faded into the distance, a silent plea for understanding. Weeks later, hidden in a sanctuary beyond the reach of their pursuers, Lyra used the shard not to fight but to heal, forging connections among estranged factions who had once sought its destruction. The universe began to change, not through power or domination, but through empathy and trust. Cale eventually found them, no longer as an enemy but as someone searching for redemption, ready to listen. Together, they built a fragile yet hopeful future, united by the shard's timeless wisdom. And as Jace held Lyra close under a sky filled with unfamiliar stars, he realized that love wasn't about perfection. It was about standing together, even when the odds felt insurmountable. Their journey wasn't easy, but it was theirs, a testament to courage, connection, and the unyielding belief that even the smallest acts of kindness could alter the course of destiny. In the end, the ether shard became more than a relic. It became a symbol of unity, carried forward by two souls who dared to dream of a better tomorrow. And so, against all odds, humanity and alien worlds intertwined, forever changed by the bond between a man, a woman, and the light that guided them home.